Picture this. The harmonious melodies of ABBA have serenaded the world for decades, but behind the glittering facade lies a tapestry woven with personal struggles, internal conflicts, and dramatic turns. Today, Bjorn Ulvaeus candidly opens up, shedding light on the tumultuous journey he and Benny Andersson have navigated, both as bandmates and individuals. The world saw the glitz, the sold-out concerts, and the adoring fans. What they didn't see was the battle raging behind the scenes. Power struggles, betrayals, and the toll of fame that left permanent scars.
The first preview and realized that the audience actually connected to what was on there.
The vibrant music scene of 1960s Sweden was a playground of possibilities, and for two ambitious musicians, Bjorn and Benny, it was the start of something bigger than they could have imagined. Their mutual passion for music brought them together, and soon they found themselves composing melodies that had the potential to transcend borders. But even in those early days, cracks in their dynamic were beginning to form. Bjorn was methodical, structured, and business-minded, always seeing the bigger picture. Benny, on the other hand, was a musical genius, but one prone to impulsiveness, arrogance, and an unwillingness to compromise. As ABBA was born and catapulted to stardom, so too did their personalities clash. The deeper they delved into their music, the more apparent it became that their partnership was far from equal. Benny's controlling tendencies and need for creative dominance were already creating tension. ABBA was more than just a band. It was two couples intertwined in a professional and personal symphony. But when love and business mix, disaster often follows. Benny's relationship with Annifrid Lyngstad began as a whirlwind romance, filled with passion and excitement, but beneath the surface there were cracks that neither could ignore. His restless nature, his obsession with control, and his inability to settle emotionally started poisoning their marriage. Late nights in the studio turned into emotional detachment at home. Benny's frequent absences, his tunnel vision focus on music, and whispered rumors of his infidelities eroded the foundation of their relationship. At the same time, Bjorn and Agneta Falskog were crumbling under their own marital woes, and tensions within the band became unbearable. Rehearsals turned into war zones, passive-aggressive remarks, icy silences, and heated arguments behind closed doors.
And the regulator is, as usual, far behind. And it's very difficult to regulate.
And at the center of it all was Benny, whose behavior had begun to alienate not only his wife, but also his longtime friend and musical partner. Fame came at a price, and for Benny that price was self-destruction. The pressures of stardom, the unrelenting cycle of performances, and the weight of personal failures drove him into the dark embrace of alcohol. At first it was social drinking, celebratory toasts after a successful show, a drink to unwind after long hours in the studio. But soon it became more than that. Benny was drinking to numb himself, to escape the guilt of broken relationships and the pressure of being at the helm of ABBA's success. His dependency worsened throughout the years, and by the time ABBA had officially disbanded, Benny was spiraling. His once brilliant mind, the creative force behind some of the world's most beloved songs, was clouded by alcohol. Friends and family begged him to get help, but he resisted, convinced he could handle it on his own. It wasn't until 2001, after hitting rock bottom, that he finally sought treatment. But the damage had already been done. His relationships had suffered, his reputation was tarnished, and the years lost to addiction were ones he could never get back. The magic of ABBA's music was undeniable, but behind every hit song lay a battlefield of creative clashes. Benny and Bjorn were an unstoppable songwriting duo, but their approaches couldn't have been more different. Bjorn believed in precision, in crafting each lyric and melody with painstaking care. Benny, on the other hand, was instinctive. If something didn't work immediately, he would discard it without a second thought. Their disagreements grew more intense as ABBA's fame soared. Benny wanted to experiment, to push musical boundaries, while Bjorn insisted on staying true to the formula that had made them famous. The tensions simmered beneath the surface for years, and while their music remained seamless to the public, behind the scenes, their working relationship was deteriorating. By the time ABBA was on the verge of splitting, their disagreements had escalated into outright hostility. Benny's conflicts didn't end with Bjorn. His brash personality and unwillingness to compromise put him at odds with industry executives, fellow musicians, and even the media. He He had a reputation for being difficult, for refusing to bend to the demands of record labels, and for walking away from deals that didn't suit him. Some saw him as a musical visionary, unwilling to sacrifice his integrity. Others viewed him as a stubborn, ego-driven force who alienated those around him. One of the most infamous feuds was with a prominent Swedish journalist who had criticized ABBA's polished image, calling their music soulless commercialism. Benny, never one to hold back, publicly denounced the journalist, calling him a parasite feeding off real artists. The fallout was immediate. Headlines painted Benny as arrogant and out of touch, further tarnishing his reputation. The feud escalated, with Benny refusing interviews with certain publications and the press branding him as ungrateful and difficult. His clashes didn't stop there. Record executives accused him of being unmanageable, his unwillingness to conform to industry trends making him a thorn in the side of those trying to shape ABBA's future. Some of his fellow musicians grew wary of working with him, finding his exacting standards and perfectionism exhausting. The tensions reached a breaking point when Benny reportedly stormed out of an important business meeting, furious over creative control disputes, leaving his team scrambling to repair the damage. Even former friends and collaborators weren't spared from his sharp tongue. One musician who had worked with Benny on a separate project post-ABBA recalled a particularly heated argument where Benny dismissed his ideas as amateurish garbage. The relationship never recovered, and the collaboration fell apart. These clashes painted Benny as a divisive figure, revered for his genius but feared for his temperament, a man who demanded excellence at all costs, even if it meant severing ties with those who couldn't keep up with his relentless pursuit of perfection. While the world saw Benny as the genius behind ABBA's music, his personal life was in shambles. His relentless pursuit of musical perfection came at a heavy cost. His family relationships crumbled under the weight of his obsession. His erratic behavior, fueled by stress and alcohol, created an emotional distance that no amount of success could bridge. His children grew up in the shadow of his fame, feeling abandoned by a father too preoccupied with his career to truly be present. Birthdays were missed. Family dinners turned into solitary meals, and phone calls went unanswered. His ex-wives, once enamored by his brilliance, bore the scars of broken promises and unfulfilled dreams. They had stood by him as he built his empire, only to be discarded when they no longer fit into his vision. The same passion that made Benny a musical genius also made him a volatile partner, prone to mood swings, emotional detachment, and moments of cruelty that left lasting wounds. Tragedy also struck in the form of personal losses. Close friends lost to addiction, family members who passed away before reconciliation was possible, and relationships that suffered irreparable damage. Despite his monumental achievements, there was always a shadow looming over Benny, a relentless reminder of the sacrifices he made and the people he lost along the way. The applause and accolades could never drown out the echoes of regret that followed him, a haunting testament to the cost of his ambition. Benny's story isn't just one of struggle, it's also one of redemption. But redemption is never simple, and for Benny it was a long, agonizing road, paved with regret, hard-won lessons, and painful confrontations. He eventually faced his demons, but not before they had nearly consumed him. The nights of heavy drinking, the alienation from his family, and the bridges burned in moments of reckless arrogance left behind scars that no amount of time or success could fully erase. His decision to seek help was not a triumphant moment, but a desperate one. Those closest to him had grown tired of his broken promises, his volatile moods, and the self-destruction that threatened to destroy what little remained of his legacy outside of music. Rehab was grueling. Confronting years of unresolved trauma, acknowledging the people he had hurt, and coming to terms with the fact that his own worst enemy had always been himself. But redemption doesn't erase the past. The apologies, the sober years, the attempts at rebuilding relationships, they softened the damage but could not undo it. The ghosts of his mistakes still haunted him, lingering in strained conversations and the wary eyes of those who had suffered from his neglect. Today, as Bjorn looks back on their journey, he sees both the genius and the chaos, the brilliance and the destruction. They have come full circle, once inseparable, then estranged, and now cautiously reconciled. Their shared history is written in gold records and painful memories, a testament to the thin line between triumph and tragedy. And while the music remains immortal, the scars tell a story that no song could ever truly capture. While the scandals, conflicts, and betrayals are a part of Benny's legacy, so too is his undeniable impact on music. The songs he created with Bjorn continue to resonate, proving that even the most fractured relationships can produce something truly timeless. But the ghosts of the past linger, a reminder of the price of genius and the cost of ambition. Benny's legacy is a paradox, a man whose music defined an era, yet whose personal life was riddled with darkness. The world remembers the chart-topping hits, the infectious melodies, and the dazzling performances. But behind closed doors, Benny carried the weight of every decision, every loss, and every conflict. His name is synonymous with brilliance, yet also with sacrifice. For every moment of triumph, there was an equal moment of despair. For every standing ovation, a night spent alone, tormented by the choices he had made. Even now, as time has softened the sharper edges of his past, the scars remain. Though he has attempted to make amends, the past is not so easily rewritten. The whispers of old scandals, broken friendships, and personal failures still follow him, trailing behind his successes like an unwanted shadow. His achievements will forever shine in music history, but so will the echoes of the pain and struggles that came with them. In the end, Benny Andersson's legacy is not just one of musical genius, it is one of a man who lived in the extremes, balancing greatness and destruction, melody and madness.